out of you, man. That's a way to show up.
And Woodward Sports is your official, unofficial Lions network. Make sure you wake up every day with Wake Up Woodward, followed by Big D Energy, Hermione and Edwards with Maz, and of course, the heavyweights. Detroit's #1 destination for all your grits and Lions coverage. Woodward Sports.
Good morning. Guten Morgen. Wie geht's? Happy Sunday. Happy Masters Sunday. This is First to the Whistle on the Woodward Sports Network. My name is Matt Broder. And before I introduce everyone here with me today, I want you guys to go on a time, take a trip on my time machine with me. Roll with me for 1 second. It's April 26th. That's the day after the NFL draft. The draft is over. The house is quiet. You're up really early. That coffee is hot. You can smell it. Yeah. You can smell that coffee brewing because the sun is barely up. You're doing your first morning scroll through the Lions picks without all the chaos of the NFL draft, without any of the clock pressure or the hot takes. And then it hits you there, Jeff and Crash Out Willie. It hits you right there in between sips. Yeah, that was the perfect NFL draft. So, guys, I want to ask you, and I'll introduce you with this question. Chat, let us know your answer, too. What does a perfect draft look like to you? It's April 26th, that next morning. Jeff, our fearless TD over there, describe the perfect draft for the Lions.
Perfect draft for the Lions? It's simple. They've addressed the trenches. You get an offensive lineman that you can put on that team, and he can produce immediately, be better than some of the guys that you have out there. So whether that's an offensive guard or an offensive tackle, it's someone that can come in right away and plug a hole where the Lions are gaping, obviously, because those are the two question marks as right tackle and left guard. Who's going to be playing in those spots?
Yeah.
Those are your biggest question marks. Now, they have a lot of depth, but are those guys starters?
I don't know.
And if you look at the edge position, there's nobody besides Aiden Hutchinson. Because everyone else is straight question marks. You have no idea if they're going to be good. You have no idea if they're going to be healthy.
So that's what you're attacking. The perfect NFL draft.
Perfect NFL draft
is that in the
beginning.
Yep.
Everything after the second round should be strictly defense. Maybe you could sprinkle in like a sixth, fifth, seventh round, running back.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be mad at that.
Okay.
But other than that, you got a strict defense. Because this team obviously is lacking in that department.
All right, the perfect NFL draft for you, first 2 rounds. You got 2 players in mind. And I'm not going to hold you to this. This is not a blood oath, which we'll do next week before the NFL draft. Your 2 favorite players, rounds 1 and 2.
My 2 favorite players?
Yeah.
Let's just say it's complicated because he's a tweener second in round 1, but for second round,
doesn't have to be perfect.
If he can fall there,
you're dreaming here.
If you move up a little bit too, Zion Young, the edge rusher from Missouri.
I like him.
He is someone that he smells like a Brad Holmes guy, like a Dan Campbell guy. Someone that is high motor but like freakishly athletic. Obviously, huge, 6'5", 250, 70 pounds.
Yeah.
So he fits the mold of what they look for in terms of, an edge rusher. So that is one of my favorite players for the Lions. And then, obviously, I would love, Monroe Freeling.
Okay, at 17.
But do I see it happening?
Hey, it's okay. We're dreaming here. That would be...
And a perfect dream.
Exactly. This is, you're looking
Those two
back.
Guys,
Monday,
I'm
April
floored.
26th. You're so happy, right?
I'm floored.
You're excited for the season. I like where you went with that. Chat, let me know what you guys are thinking. Donkey Kong 43 says, here we effing go. Offensive tackle, round 1 or bust. Go Blue says, go Blue. That's a comment that fits the name. Also says, draft the future Hall of Fame guys. I really like that strategy. Guys with gold jackets loading already, like Penei Sewell. Xavier DT, trade all your draft picks for a starting veteran tackle, defensive end, and a linebacker. Maybe not so realistic, but I asked what's the perfect draft look like on April 26th. He says none of the draft picks. Whatever. We'll go with it because I love you, Xavier, DT. Crash Out Willie. Great to see you here in the sound booth.
It feels good.
Give me like that feeling of what the perfect NFL draft looks like for you the day after.
It's like a perfect chess game if your pieces are right. You don't know what your next move is. And once you're looking for your next move, you end up winning the game. And that's what Brad Holmes tried to figure out. Which player, they don't know, who's going to be the perfect draft pick as a Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes type of player in the first round.
But to you, like what would be the dream scenario? You're looking back. I love what you did, Brad Holmes, with that pick in the first round, that pick in the second round. Maybe you traded up into the third round. I would like that.
Okay. If he did it the last few years ago when he had not J-Mo, Aiden Hutchinson, he did it with the offense and the edge. He need to do it again with the offensive line.
Okay.
In the edge because Aiden needs help.
Yeah.
He needs help on the defense. The defense needs help, but the O-lineman, somebody got to protect Jared Goff at all costs. So I think a perfect offensive line or left tackle will be a great fit for the Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes system.
Yeah, I feel that, Crash Out Willie. Greg Thomas, I see a lot of people saying Lions move up or down in the draft. I could see that happening. 17's weird.
So I fully expect them to. And it's because they have to be aggressive in terms of, like, some of these guys that they, so love.
Yeah.
These are their players. We've seen Brad Holmes get aggressive and go get the guys that he thinks are his best players in the draft. And but
who is that? Like,
almost
we just
every
don't
draft
know.
we've seen it happen, other than a few where he's it's kind of with the chips just kind of fell right into his hands.
Early in his,
he usually forces things to go get his guys.
Yeah, especially early in his time here in Detroit. Like, we needed everything. The Lions needed everything. So best player available was also a need. Now is when it gets tricky, where you got a Super Bowl caliber core, and we're going to talk about that later. But the holes around it are large enough, or as you and the ski mask boy said, gaping was the word. They're trying to plug the holes. There are massive holes that we saw balance out in the wrong way all the good that this roster had last season. IPE Club, we could have the best offensive line in the NFL, but we don't have a defense worth the piss. Eric Moy, 3944, says the perfect dream draft. Trade up, get Ruben Bain, trade back into the end of the first round, and get a falling offensive tackle like Kadyn Proctor. I don't know if you guys saw the title of this show.
Is a good left tackle. I like him.
He might be. Maybe he's a guard. Maybe he fits the Lions. Maybe he doesn't. But in like 12 to 18 minutes, we're going to talk about why he's actually the most important person, the most important player in this NFL draft for the Lions. And no, I'm not saying that they got to take him at 17. In fact, I don't want them to. But the rumors are that they're interested, and teams in front of them are growing more and more interested. We will get into that. I have a plan for this, and I got one more question for you both and for the chat. All of you who are joining us today. By the way, again, thank you for joining us. It's the Woodward Sports Network. This is First to the Whistle. Usually see me up here with Terry Foster, the Detroit sports media legend, but it's the off season, so we give the legend a little bit of a break. Today it's Jeff, and it's Crash Out Willie, and it's me. Kool Aid and Stick are out, and we're talking NFL draft. But first, I have one question that we've talked a lot on this show, the past names of this show with Terry and Gabby, and this is kind of a casual or I don't know. This question was just kind of fluff to me, but I think there's importance to it now. I want to ask you guys, who's one player in chat, who is one player, current active player in the NFL right now, that if you could add them to this roster, you would feel most comfortable that this team is a Super Bowl caliber team. It has the pieces to go make that Super Bowl run. You feel more confident than ever that the Detroit Lions can win a Super Bowl if you add this one player. Jeff, who would that one player be for you?
Well, Broder, you know my feelings. You know my takes. if you had Patrick Mahomes on this roster, this team would have probably already won a Super Bowl.
Really? You think adding Patrick Mahomes to that roster last year with the offensive line struggles that they had would make a turn that team from a 9-8 team to a Super Bowl favorite?
Jesus, Justin.
You think Mahomes is that mobile?
Number one, you get the favoritism, and then number two, yeah, he does have the ability to evade sacks in ways that Jared Goff just cannot. He can get out of the pocket. He can avoid pressure coming up the middle, avoid pressure coming from the side. That's something that even with a bad offensive line, which he has had in Kansas City, and they won Super Bowls with a very questionable offensive line, you can see it happen when he has elite pieces like that. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams. Talk about letting the ball zip down the field to J-Mo. That would be elite. That would be an elite combo to have. And he would obviously bring that winning factor because he's done it already so often in his career. Obviously, you could trade him for Jared Goff, can't you? Like that would be something that you can do, right? Kansas City would like that.
They're taking a year out. They're tanking, and or at least they should. I don't know. They'll still produce a winning team, but I didn't expect you to go quarterback, but Nitty Gritty did. Says Hefe would say a quarterback, of course, if there is one, and if you're not going to say Josh Allen like Jacob 313.
That's another guy. That's another guy. I mean, listen, I'm with you. I'm with you there, Jacob 313, because there's quite a few quarterbacks that if you put on this Lions team, that's a Super Bowl, and that's because
Super Bowl while Jared Goff.
Jared Goff needs everything around him to be great. Other quarterbacks, they just need all right.
AT31393, Lamar Jackson and Ford Field wouldn't lose a game.
Listen, I was all in on when there was the contract talk between, Lamar Jackson not signing, him wanting to be traded. I would have done whatever it took to get Lamar Jackson in the Honolulu Blue.
He says
Seriously.
Lamar only. AT31393, Josh Allen, no. Lions fan in Orlando says Max Crosby. I like the direction you're headed. Ski Mask Boy says Tua. Tua. Eric Moy, Trent Williams. That's an interesting one. I don't know. He might be a little old. I don't know if he's too old that it would put you over the top. But there is a need at tackle. Before I read off the one that I would go with, you got one, Crash Out Willie?
I'm not sure, but I like that Kadyn Proctor from Alabama.
Oh, not for the draft, for an active NFL player that if you added to this Lions team right now, you felt the best about.
Shoot. I like that Lamar Jackson trade for Jared Goff, but I know we need an offensive linebacker. But Trent Williams sounds pretty solid. Trent Williams, he may be old, about to pushing 40, but he's still active for offensive line. He's still out there.
AT31393, and a healthy BB and Kirby would guarantee a Super Bowl. How about that? Jacob 313, Goff is good, love him, but he needs a line. He does need a line.
Think about this, Broder.
What?
A healthy Brian Branch, a healthy Kirby Joseph with Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback.
You still got to get to the quarterback. We've had a healthy Kirby Joseph and a healthy Brian Branch, and that defense has still let us down. We've had a top offense in the league, and the defense has still let us down.
Well, you are right. And the Purple Puma 8804 says, not even a question, Myles Garrett.
To me, that's the answer.
Would be great.
And that's what Gavis Con 2004 said in the chat too. Myles Garrett. And I expected, to be honest with you guys, I expected more people to say Myles Garrett in the chat. I thought you guys were going to say Myles Garrett, or at least
I had to stir some things up.
But the point I was trying to make, like, we all know that the primary need, well, the two primary needs are offensive line and edge rusher. I don't even want to say defensive line, although some people think the interior is more important. It's important. They got to address, but I think Ali McNeil stepping up, Tyleik Williams taking another step forward, I think that's your reinforcements on the interior. But you need to go get the quarterback.
I fully expect Ali McNeil to be better this year. Obviously coming off of an injury like that where, you lose some of your flexibility, you lose some of your, range of motion. So him being able to work, throughout a whole off season on really, at 100%, getting, back to that is going to be crucial for him. So I fully expect him to be better than what we've seen.
He has to.
Especially keeping him off the edge, of course.
Yeah, right? Like, that's one of those things. He should never be playing edge rusher again.
But I fully expect him
right there in the middle.
Yeah.
What?
The injury, when you come back from an injury like that, it takes time.
It does.
It takes time for you to kind of get back to yourself because that's a tough injury.
We were teased. What was it, the Giants game or his first game back? Maybe Bengals?
His first game back, it was amazing. He
holy crap.
We thought we were good. But,
yeah.
Obviously, it does catch up to you.
It does. It does, especially when you're that big. And Aleem, as he was ascending towards the player that we saw him at his peak, and he still had room to grow. But when he was ascending and he got there, it was tied to him, I don't want to say controlling his weight, but living a healthier life. He had slimmed down to like 305 from 330 or 340. Yeah. He was explosive. He was quick. And he's one of those interior defensive linemen that get to the quarterback. You worry, you have an injury, you're going to put on a little bit of weight.
Yes.
How much did that slow down his recovery process and how electric he would be for a long period of time when he come back? I'm with you. I hope this offseason.
Putting a lot of pressure on that new ACL.
That pressure, did you say physically, figuratively? I think both work. There's physical and figurative pressure on that ACL because, honestly, if Aleem McNeil gets back to 90% of the player that he was, and I hope it's more, it changes everything on that defense.
It does.
Everything.
It does.
But while I thought everyone was going to say Myles Garrett or some form.
That's an easy one. That's like a given.
That was the point of the question, for it to be easy. To show, like, where is the one biggest hole in terms of what will take us to the next level?
Not biggest hole, I would say, Broder, because
you have Hutch.
You do have Hutch, but obviously Myles Garrett is the best. He's the best football player on the planet.
Yes.
That's simple. It's
Lions,
easy. He's that good of a player.
And the Lions 2 seasons ago wanted to sign him when he was free to see, but
Yeah, and I'm not saying there's any chance he's coming to Detroit. I'm trying to point out that the overwhelming majority is going to say edge rusher. We need a tackle. We need an edge rusher. And the more it plays out, I don't see Brad Holmes doing that in the first round. He's going to screw us all. He's going to do something that very few people expect. And I think this entire draft for the Detroit Lions, it hinges on Kadyn Proctor. Like, this is a guy, and still on PFF, one of the mock draft simulators, he's in the mid to late 20s. He's projected a late first round pick. But through the last week, you keep hearing reports of teams interested in him in the top 15, in the top 10, and then as high as number 6 to the Cleveland Browns. And the Cleveland Browns with DeJuan Jones have a player similar to Kadyn Proctor that they love, a guy that was a massive human being and is getting better at the position as he leans out, as he gets a little quicker, as he slims down a bit. So they have this, and if I'm not mistaken, they met with him on Friday. They have a weird intrigue with him. There's one report, and the other report by Daniel Jeremiah is that there is no way he's getting past 17 where the Detroit Lions sit. Let's start with the Detroit Lions. Are you drafting Kadyn Proctor?
It tells you something, Broder.
Yeah.
If they're saying there's no way possible he's getting past 17, that means that the Lions are going to be that straw. So at 17, or whether they move up, whatever it takes, it stops there at the Lions. Yeah. That's the indication that I'm getting from that statement is.
If you want Kadyn Proctor,
the Lions love him that much that it stops at him.
It's got to be before 17 or a trade with the Lions.
Yeah.
That's what now they're saying, though, with Cleveland at 6. So people are now is when.
That's something new that's been out there, but the person that I have seen that has been deeply connected with the Browns has been Monroe Freeling.
Yep.
And then if they pick Kadyn Proctor, then does Monroe Freeling end up falling to you?
The dominoes fall because the Cleveland Browns have 2 first-round picks. A lot of people expect them to take maybe Carnell Tate in the first round, go wide receiver, maybe go with one of the Ohio State edge rushers or linebackers, excuse me, maybe even Caleb Downs. But they don't know what they're doing at quarterback yet. So why not solidify their offensive line? I think it would be smart to address. I don't know if it would be smart for them to take Kadyn Proctor. But if that happens, that means that not only will offensive linemen start to run in that draft,
the running game.
They're going to hit at 6. If Kadyn Proctor's there, then people are starting to jump up to go get Monroe Freeling, to go get Spencer Fano, to go get, I expect Maui Goa to be gone by then, but if the Browns pass on him to take Kadyn Proctor, then it's even more of a rush to get to 7, 8, 9, 10 to go get one of those guys. So then tackles fall, and maybe Monroe Freeling doesn't get to you at 17. But if he doesn't, that means he's been picked and the other tackles have been picked. And then you got non-tackles, non-offensive. Actually, there might be some offensive linemen available, but non-tackles available. You could go edge rusher. You could go with someone's going to fall. Is it Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end out of Oregon? We don't really need a tight end. Is it one of the Ohio State defensive players? Could Caleb Downs fall to 14, 15? I don't think the Bucs need a safety. Who is it? The Jets at 16 in front of the Lions. They could use just about everything.
Anybody.
But nonetheless, if you go through the mock drafts,
they're picking best player available, 100%.
Yeah, if you go through the mock drafts and you put Kadyn Proctor at 6 to the Browns, there is a very, very, very good player available to the Lions at 17.
Yeah.
And you can either take them or that pick becomes all that much more valuable for teams to trade up. Yeah. And I think a lot of people in this chat, like NCS DFL, says, I want Blake Miller, the perfect right tackle. Xavier DT says the Browns will pick 2 quarterbacks. They might just do that in round 1. Jonathan Anton, Proctor will be a bust.
Wow.
A lot of upside with the kid.
Yeah.
A lot of upside with Proctor. A lot of question marks, though.
A lot of question marks?
Do you worry about someone that big?
Yes, because of mobility. He's quick enough to protect Jared Goff, or he's quick enough to get past the defensive line so they make space for the running back, like Jay Moore in the Jay Moore going to cut for the touchdown. Those are the things that made the Lions have concern about Proctor because he's big or too big for the position. So in that case, if he's fat, not because his size, it's because his mobility.
Yeah,
that's the only thing questioned about the Detroit Lions for taking the risk of that draft pick is if he's mobile enough against quicker edge rushers and in the linebackers position. Mm-hmm. Those are the things that the Lions go question about that draft pick.
Yeah.
He's mobile enough. He could be big and strong, but he's quick enough to protect Jared Goff or the running backs.
AT31393. He can find out about prime and proper and be 4 bills before training camp. Yeah, Kadyn Proctor, he's huge, but he's a great athlete for his size. My thing with him is I don't necessarily want the positive attributes of the guy I'm drafting in the first round to say when he's slimmed down, when he's down to 350, when he's down to 360, he's at his best. There's a lot that goes into keeping that weight down. There's a lot more injury risk when you are getting close to 400 pounds. It just scares me. His ceiling's high. People don't know if he's going to play tackle or he's going to play guard. To me, I just don't know if this Lions team, maybe 2 years ago you draft him, this Lions team, I don't want to take that chance. You want to take that chance, Jeff?
The reason why, me personally, I don't think that, that would be the move that I would want the Lions to take because it is a little bit of a project when you need players that would step in now. But what we've seen over time, the Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell era here is they're willing to take on that project. They are willing to draft a player that has this amount of upside because it allows them to mold that player into however they want it. If he wants to be a guard, they can mold him into a guard. If he wants to be a tackle, they can mold him into a tackle. But it gives you, a superior athlete to work with, and I think that is what Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell love. So I can see the reason why the Lions love him, because he is, a superior athlete. And yeah, does he have some question marks on, his feet and especially his, his weight? Those are things that can be fixed. One thing we have to notice is that he is very young.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It kind of worked out for them last time when they drafted a young tackle in the first round in Penei Sewell. Obviously, Kadyn Proctor is not Penei Sewell. He did not have, that resume that Penei Sewell had, but he is athletic like Penei Sewell. So I can see why the Lions love him in that spot, because it gives them the ability to mold whatever direction they want him to be.
Yeah, yeah. No, there's a lot to like. It's just, are the question marks too much for where this Lions team is right now? We want to get to a Super Bowl. Like, we as fans expect that this year. I don't know if we have time to take that chance. Like I'm almost rather my guy Gavis Con 2004 in the chat. Vega is a smarter choice than Proctor. That's my guy. That's I've been pounding the table for him since day one, and I keep hearing people around the city. That name's coming up a lot more. It's like, wait, this actually does seem like a pretty good fit. They're two different types of selections. One, Vega, the ceiling might not be as high, but the floor is, he might have the highest floor in the draft, and you know what you're getting. Day one when he comes in, you got your left guard of the future.
You got your guard.
For the next 10 years. Your interior is stabilized. He's playing right in between Cade Mays and Penei Sewell, and your one question mark, your one weakness, the weak link on the offensive line, is right in front of Jared Goff to the right. It's at right tackle, where you can put tight ends, you can help out Larry Borum, or a tackle you take in the second or fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh round of the NFL draft. Because the other component to this, there are some really good tackles at the top. There are also some really good tackles available in the second round and in the third round. A couple decent projects in the fourth round too, but you can get a really good player in the second and third round for that offensive line. Maybe a smidge more development needed. Maybe there's not that guy who can step in right now. That might end at Blake Miller at the end of the first round. Who knows if he falls into the second round. But there are good tackles available later on. Edge rushers. There are really good guys at the top. But then there are some really good guys in the middle, too. They're not going to be your superstars, but you go, the Zion Young's a little later in the first or second. Malachi Lawrence, Gabe Yakis,
Falk.
Danny Dennis Sutton. I think Keldrick Falk's going to be a first rounder. Some say top 10.
He's
some say bottom 20. It could be anywhere. He'll go first round. I have a pretty good feeling about that.
That's a player on the opposite side.
Yeah.
You talk about Kadyn Proctor being, one of those guys who would be a project in terms of, being at offensive tackle. Well, it's going to be the same thing with the other side. If Keldrick Falk was the guy for the Lions, like that's someone that also is a project as well. Very young, very raw, doesn't have, exactly the sacks in college that you would want, at that pick. But he flashes upside.
Yeah.
And him being so young, that is a player, like I said, the Lions would love to get into the building because you can work with them on those things. But what they already flash in terms of Kadyn Proctor, run, again, with the run, he's absolutely a mauler. He fits exactly what you need in that role.
Yeah.
It's the pass protection that kind of gives you a little bit of worry. Keldrick Falk, his rush defense is already elite in terms of that being as a prospect, but his pass rush can use some refining.
Yeah.
So those are two players that are very young in this draft, but the upside on those players are high.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of teams love them.
Yeah, I was listening to Jeff Risdon on the Daily DLP of the Detroit Lions podcast this morning on the way in, and he was interviewing Emery Hunt, who works for CBS, does some football analysis, and has this guide he puts together before every NFL draft. But he compared the comp for Keldrick Falk. You know what he said?
What's that?
DJ Wanham. DJ Wanham. He's like, if you want to double up on Wanham, go for it. And Keldrick Falk has, I think, a much higher ceiling.
Yeah.
Like for all the reasons you just said, I just thought it was funny. But what that does say, yeah, his comp might be DJ Wanham. Sounds like a guy that Dan and Brad want. Although I think we're talking about it in the second hour, Dan and Brad might not be on the same page on what they want, according to one Alex Anzalone, in some interviews on the way out. I see Steve O'Baby in the chat. Broder, there are content creators right now when it comes to the Lions because they are getting bashed because they have concerns about their team and people get their feelings hurt. We're an emotional fan base.
Yes, we are.
Lions fans are emotional, sometimes unrealistic, sometimes
delusional.
What was that?
Delusional. Unfortunately,
yeah,
it would be delusional.
There's definitely some delusion in there, and maybe with a little bit of everyone. I've got some delusion in me too.
We all guilty with delusion, especially we all do. So that's understandable. How Lions fans are. We passionate. Now we want to win. Now we feel entitled now because we winning. Last couple of seasons, we was close to go to the Super Bowl. Last few seasons, now we're feeling tired. We want the Super Bowl right now. We felt very entitled, and we deserve, after long years of this organization has been on a downhill for so long, that we're very entitled of getting a Super Bowl team and winning every single season. So yes, we delusional, but we got every right to be.
That's for sure. That's for sure, Crash Out Willie. I just saw a really cool comment. AZ Budhunter 8964. If they took a tackle in round 1 and Jacob Rodriguez, linebacker out of Texas Tech, if I'm not mistaken, Texas Tech, if they fell to them in this second at 50, that would be very ideal and replace Anzalone and Decker. That's a great thought. I like how you put that together, AZ Budhunter. And I was researching and watching some film on Jacob Rodriguez this week, and I learned a really fun fact. They posted on, I think it was NFL.com. Oh, yeah. His wife, Emma, is a helicopter pilot in the U.S. Army.
Yep.
I think that's pretty badass. And he started in 2021 at Virginia, playing quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, and running back. Ended his career at Texas Tech as a first-team Associated Press All-American linebacker. And the list of awards is insane. I really like Jacob Rodriguez, and I think the Detroit Lions will too. He's one that if you're worried about what Brad Holmes might do at 17, he might go linebacker. He might go linebacker. He might go guard.
Yeah, that would be fine if they pick him.
I think it would be fine, but this fan base would go crazy. They would go crazy. And I actually want to run a scenario by you guys real quick because I was talking about with a buddy last night. Shout out to my buddy Morgan, who and I'll preface, I don't necessarily agree with his thought here, but he likes the idea of drafting a running back relatively early. Like we're talking about Jadarian Price out of Notre Dame. If he's there in the second round, he likes solidifying that backfield. If you're going to pay Gibbs, if Gibbs is going to get a record-breaking contract, you got Pacheco for 1 year and $1 million and some change. He's like, man, that 1-2 duo at running back is kind of something that's become this identity, something that this team maybe plays well. Having Jahmyr Gibbs and Jadarian Price in that backfield, I think it's a little early for running back, but Chat, Jeff, Crash
Broder,
Out Willie.
That means the Lions are being they're neglecting what their biggest needs are. Yeah. Because their biggest need is not a running back. It's not a skill position.
Edge.
So in that fact, if they're drafting Jadarian Price, that means they're just being downright dumb. Like they're just neglecting the biggest holes on this roster. You win by the trenches. That's how the Lions, when they were a 15-2 team, like they were winning in the trenches. Their run game was absolutely fantastic. They had the best running back duo in the NFL, and that was not due to the fact that they had two elite running backs. It was due to the fact that they had an amazing offensive line that opened up holes for these two running backs. Jahmyr Gibbs can carry the load, But if you're not going to have holes that are opened up, then it doesn't matter who you have back there.
Even if it's Gibbs.
Even if it's Derrick Henry, you're not going to get anywhere. If you're getting hit in the backfield, then it'll be no point. You're just having two running backs just to have two running backs.
And that was part of the point in his strategy. His strategy leaned towards the use a running back up, run him into the ground, and move on after 5 years. I don't think you can do that with Jahmyr Gibbs. He has special potential. He is special, and he could be. He could be a Hall of Fame.
That's what some people tend to forget. That strategy is something that a lot of teams they use. But when you have a special player there, you tend to want to keep that special player in that position.
Yeah.
Like you look at what, I mean, you could easily compare, Jahmyr Gibbs and his type of, game to similar to what, Christian McCaffrey does. Mm-hmm. Christian McCaffrey has been in the league for a while. Mm-hmm. He's dealt with some injuries, which Jahmyr Gibbs has not, fortunately. But look at the contract he's gotten. Like, look at the stats that he's still putting up. Like, he was one of the top running backs last year.
Caseville Country Boy. If Gibbs is so special, why wasn't he productive over the last 6 games of the year?
That happens.
Everything you just said. He is special, but even special players couldn't do anything behind that offensive line.
Derrick Henry is a top 10 NFL rush yards.
Bijan's not doing well with that offensive line last year down the stretch.
He couldn't get things going when, the Ravens, offensive line struggled.
Yeah.
That's just how it is.
Yeah, Steve-O baby again. Broder, nobody was scared of Sonic and Knuckles this year. That's true. Not because they changed. They were still 2 great players. But they weren't scared of them because they knew they could get to them before they went downhill.
Listen.
They were tackling them in the backfield 50% of the time.
Broder, the easy way to put it is this. If this was basketball, Jahmyr Gibbs probably could, do it on his own. Unfortunately, football is a team sport where you rely on so many other players to be doing their job that if they're not doing their job, then you seriously cannot do your job. That's like someone at your place of work absolutely just kicking back feet all day, just relaxing, chilling, doing absolutely nothing. And then the systems come crashing down and you have to try to piece everything together, but you just can't because you don't have enough time, you don't have enough. Like, all this stuff, like, that matters. If you don't have what the pieces in place in this offensive line, then Jared Goff can't be the quarterback you need him to be.
Yeah.
Jahmyr Gibbs can't be the explosive running back that you need him to be because where Jahmyr Gibbs is, his talent shows is when he gets to that second level. When he gets to that second level and he's, around the linebackers and the safeties, that's where you begin to see Jahmyr Gibbs flourish.
Yeah.
That's where you see his speed. That's where you see his agility, the way he can, do a spin move or a juke and get someone, out of the way. That is what you want to see from Jahmyr Gibbs.
Like, I'm picturing, remember against, I think it was the Bucks, and he broke through the first 2 levels.
And gone.
And Antoine Winfield was coming one angle.
And just absolutely cut an angle. And
he couldn't catch him. Nobody could catch him.
Couldn't catch him.
But you got to get to that second level. Vincent E313, Gibbs was getting smoked in the backfield half the time. AT31393 in the chat, going from 50-50 to 70-30. It might even be 80-20 with Gibbs and Pacheco this year. And I'm with Greg. Greg, you and me are alike here. I'm always wrong on what Brad will do, except when I reported that they were taking Terry on, although that hasn't worked out so well quite yet. But the Purple Puma 8804 said, I just want the Lions to put the same energy in the defense as they have for the offense. And I think that's a fair comment. I just don't think it's happening. No, I don't think they care to build a elite defense. I think they're going to try to get players who know how to stop the run. They're going to rely on Hutch to go get the quarterback, and they're going to rely on their linebackers to clean everything up and try to get some pass rush out of their linebackers too. That's why I think they're gonna go after a linebacker early. The question is how early. I don't think it should be first round.
No, it's gonna be like
they might do second round. They might go second round.
At least
linebackers, they drop off after the top 4 or 5 also. But on this, before we get to Jeffy's, excuse me?
I will say this, Broder, okay? For everyone wondering why Jacob Rodriguez would be a horrible pick in the first round. Or
by who?
Many of these linebackers would be a horrible pick in the first round. Look at when you drafted Jack Campbell in the first round. I want you to look at a side-by-side of Jack Campbell compared to Jacob Rodriguez. Jack Campbell is 6'5" and runs a 4.6. That is
fast.
It's fast, but his frame, like that, you can fall in love with the frame, the physicality that he can bring. He's able to take on offensive linemen, in terms of, blowing up the block. Like, that's something that we look at Malcolm Rodriguez. Like, even though he does it, it's hard for him to do it that in that frame.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, there's a reason why Jack Campbell was picked in the first round. I know that we've done it before, but Jack Campbell, it was kind of an anomaly because
he's
of
an
his
insane
size.
athlete with his size.
His size is 6'5". Like, that's someone that you would think is on the edge.
It's
not in
why
the middle of
people
your
would kind of
defense.
talk. It was unfair at the time, but they would give him Brian Urlacher comps, Luke Kuechly type comps, like Hall of Famer, some of the best linebacker ever, just because of his size. Dude's massive. You're right. Jacob Rodriguez, 6'1", 231. He's a pretty crazy athlete, though. Seems really smart. And you don't want the law firm of Rodriguez, and Campbell on that defense. I think Kelvin Shepard might. I just don't think it's going to happen. But, Jeff, before we get to your mock
You
draft.
can't have two Rodriguez's.
It's a lot of what do you put on? I guess you do a first initial on the back of the jersey.
Yeah.
But
College jersey.
so with this, does it not feel to you guys like the Lions are Super Bowl? We expect a Super Bowl run, but doesn't it kind of feel like they're farther away than ever?
Yes.
But and I agree, it feels that way. And they're not that far, although in the NFL everybody's kind of that far away from the Super Bowl. But when you really break down their roster, they still have one of the best cores in the NFL, right? Like, if you go position by position, the Lions have one of the best players in the entire NFL at almost every position. We'll come back to Goff, but top 10 quarterback, you might say top 12, 15. He's one of the top quarterbacks.
Top 10.
You can admit that. Gibbs is one of the best running backs.
He's top 5 easily.
Yeah.
You have
some would say top 3, maybe 2.
Yep. You have Amon-Ra, who
Respectfully.
is in that conversation for top 5 receivers.
Sam
even
Laporta.
though that is a very stacked, ranking, but
He's in it.
nowhere near out of, the top 7.
Sam Laporta at tight end.
I would say he's somewhere around top 5 as
Yep.
well. I know, obviously injury
Right, but I
kind of
think
hard
around
but
the league,
before
people
that,
still view him.
You as a rookie, you've seen the ability that he was able to, bring. And
Offensive line, how about
what
Penei
he's done in
Sewell?
his career so far, you can see why he could be a top 5.
How about Penei Sewell?
Penei Sewell is easily the best.
The best lineman in the NFL. The best.
It's easily
On the defensive line, where there is a big hole, you have one of the best edge rushers in Aiden Hutchinson, right?
Yep.
You have one of,
Flirting
if not
somewhere
the
around
best
top 5.
linebacker.
easily top 3 linebacker.
If healthy, 2 of the best safeties in the NFL.
Kirby was the best safety in the NFL.
I think Branch is
before
better
his
than
injury.
Kirby.
And I love Brian Branch.
Yeah,
I
2
think
of the
Brian
best.
Branch
So-
he's the Swiss Army knife that this team needs.
Yeah. So we're talking cornerback. The one position that the Lions don't have a player in that room that's thought of right now as one of the best in the NFL. That's a pretty good roster. That's a roster that if Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell and this team hit in this draft, they are a Super Bowl caliber team. And I think this is why Steve O'Baby said earlier, he was talking about Lions fans and the Lions content creators are getting lots of views right now because everyone's sad and upset and they're bashing the team. This team is still close to this. They have one of the best rosters in the NFL. They're not that far away. They have as good a chance as anybody as long as they make the right selections for what they need, as long as they do insulate Jared Goff at quarterback, as long as they do insulate Aiden Hutchinson at edge and help him out. Even if that means drafting Keldrick Falk in another run-stopping edge rusher that doesn't get to the quarterback, that make the rest of your defense the best run-stopping defense in the league, if that's what you're going to do. If you're going to piecemeal the defense apart, go get the comparisons to DJ Wanham at every position, the guys who can stop the run with the best of them, but then have upside to go get the quarterback or upside out. Not every player is going to be perfect, but there is a formula they can use to go get a Super Bowl. There was a ranking that came out, boys. I think it was NBC Sports on the best coaches in the NFL. We were just talking about some of the best position players on this roster across the NFL. But what about coach? And before I ask you across the entire NFL what you think about Dan Campbell, I want to ask you about these NFC North rankings. And before I tell you what they were ranked, who's the fourth best coach in the NFC North, Jeff? In your opinion. We're all going to differ. I have a really striking suspicion.
Yeah, I'm going to go with
number 4 quarterback. Excuse me. Number 4 head coach in the NFC North.
I'm going to go with LaFleur.
I agree with you.
I think he
agree.
is by far the worst coach because of you look at the talent that team has had on the defensive side of the ball and where they've fumbled in recent years on not being able to achieve greatness in the playoffs.
You got everything you need on that team.
Losing early, like that is actually that's a cardinal sin.
Cardinal sin. I have him at 4 too. What about number 3? Who do you guys think is the third best coach in the NFC North?
Kevin O'Connell.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. I differ. By the way, Matt LaFleur was picked 10th nationally, and in their ranking, the second best coach in the NFC North by NBC Sports. You have Kevin O'Connell at number 3. You got Kevin O'Connell, Ben Johnson, or Dan Campbell as your third best coach in the NFC North.
I can be honest with you. It's going to hurt Ben Johnson.
Why does that hurt?
Why does it hurt? Because he just took Chicago Bears to the NFC. He went up to be number 1 in the NFC North. And went to I may be wrong. They went to the NFC Championship. Right?
No. They lost in the playoffs.
They lost in the playoffs.
They did win the NFC North. The Bears won the NFC North. We have to admit it.
Yes,
you got him at number 3.
I had to say it.
I get him at number 3, but for the reverse,
for now,
I think he just needs to prove he had a great year. If he and Caleb take another step forward this offseason, unfortunately, they got something brewing down in Chicago. But number 2, what?
That's why I have him at 2.
You got Ben Johnson at number 2?
I have Ben Johnson at 2 because of the fact that he's done this in his first year there.
Yeah.
And he's coming from, the Bears were a dumpster fire. Like, you couldn't, they had talent, but putting that talent together on the field was extremely hard. Like, they had been through, 3 head coaches in the past, 5 years. He's walking into a dumpster fire, and somehow he has, turned it around. And he turned around quickly in a year where he does have, a relatively young quarterback who makes a lot of mistakes and was still able to get it done. He assembled a great staff around him to help him do that, and that within itself, kind of gives him that edge over Kevin O'Connell because he has got to the playoffs and early with a little bit less of the talent.
Regardless of the schedule. Hey, I don't believe in Caleb Williams, and Ben Johnson took him to the playoffs, so I have to use that in my formula. Yeah. Honestly, that's why he's 3 and not 4.
You got to get credit's due. That's the thing.
100%. 100%. I don't know if people are going to like me saying this, but I have Kevin O'Connell as the number 1 coach in the NFC North.
You do?
And Dan Campbell at number 2. And I love Dan Campbell. This is the first time probably in the last 2 years I put him in this position. I've thought he's the best, and I think he can be the best again. But not only did Kevin O'Connell beat him twice, once with Max Brosmer and once with J.J. McCarthy.
Wait, did he beat Dan Campbell or did he beat? Oh, never mind.
What?
Damn it, man.
The quarterback? How many yards rushing did Gibbs have in that game too?
That's Brad Holmes' flaw.
Well, Why is one Jared Goff's fault and the other is Brad Holmes' fault?
Well, Brad Holmes didn't assemble the offensive line. They weren't prepared for, Frank Ragnow retiring.
True.
A lot of the injuries that they had, they weren't prepared.
I'd also say
that's a Brad Holmes fault.
True.
Because
And Dan Campbell.
he assembles a team. Brad Holmes is the one who assembles the team. He is the one who picks who comes into this building, who's signed. Mm-hmm. That's fully on Brad Holmes.
Yeah.
Like
I put Minnesota.
If he wanted to go over Dan Campbell's head and sign someone that maybe Dan Campbell didn't like, he has the full right to do so because he holds the power as the GM.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. And I put especially that second Minnesota loss more on Dan Campbell too than anybody else because they weren't prepared for that offensive line to collapse from the front office. Dan Campbell didn't have that coaching staff prepared for that Minnesota game.
He wasn't.
And there were many times throughout last season where Dan Campbell didn't have that coaching staff prepared. I put John Morton's faults on Dan Campbell. I put Kelvin Shepard's faults on Dan Campbell. You don't get to avoid responsibility for the defensive problems as the head coach because you made the wrong OC hire and had to go put all your time and energy into the offense. Because you called a couple good games, I'm not looking at that as a reason to prop you up even more. I look at that as a reason why you didn't have this coaching staff prepared. Kelvin Shepard wasn't ready. He wasn't ready for that season. He looked okay in the first half, wasn't ready to make the proper adjustments against some of the best OCs in the NFL. On offense, even Dan Campbell and Jared Goff, Hank Fraley weren't able to prepare and make the proper adjustments in game to that Minnesota Vikings defense with Brian Flores, who Goff and Fraley and Dan Campbell had figured out in recent years. Had beat Brian Flores. I'm picturing Goff throwing that ball to St. Brown in Minnesota with the zero blitz coming at you. Flores is sending everything. Goff was making the right decisions, the right audibles, the right checkdowns, and then putting the ball on the money when he needed to 2 years ago. Not last year against the Vikings. Not last year when defensive coordinators were able to scheme to a W. They were able to just outsmart the offensive line, outsmart Jared Goff by the end of the season. Goff couldn't even audible to the right calls. It was a big mess, so it kind of falls on everyone. I blame last season on Dan Campbell, and I'm in no way putting him on the hot seat. I just think he and that team was not prepared. So I have him at number 2. And Kevin O'Connell, he's got some issues in the playoffs. He's not a perfect coach, but he did take Sam Darnold and that Vikings team to 14 wins. He's consistently had rosters or holes in his roster.
Probably should have kept that guy.
And he probably should have. It's going to be really interesting to see what he can do with Kyler. Which everyone's kind of like, oh, whatever. Kyler Murray, no big deal. Kyler Murray's an upgrade from J.J. McCarthy right now. And Kevin O'Connell has done some things with quarterbacks. I guess I was about to say I haven't seen a quarterback like him with O'Connell, but Josh Dobbs has a little Kyler Murray in him. They're different games, but a quarterback who has mobility, who can escape. I don't really love Kyler, but he's an upgrade. So we have one of the best coaches in the NFL. By the way, Campbell was ranked 8th overall in the NFL.
They still ain't giving him his due.
You think, I could pull it up.
Does he have the most wins out of NFC North head coaches in the playoffs?
Yes.
What was LaFleur's only win against Dallas a couple years ago?
I'm pretty sure.
Ben Johnson. No, they didn't win one this year. So they have Sean McVay first, real quick. Super Bowl winner. Andy Reid, Super Bowl winner. Kyle Shanahan. Hasn't won a Super Bowl, but we all agree Shanahan's up there as one of the best.
Absolutely.
Mike McDonald at 4. He's got a Super Bowl.
He does.
He does.
I can't argue.
Sean Payton at 5. He's got a Super Bowl. Harbaugh doesn't have a Super Bowl. He's a damn good coach.
Yeah.
Maybe you flip-flop Mike Vrabel at 7 and then Dan Campbell at 8, right in front of Nick Sirianni, who has 2? Sirianni have 2 Super Bowls?
Yeah, I think so.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Because was he there for? I think that was his first year, was it not?
I think so.
With Nick Foles, right?
Or no, was that how many Super Bowls does Nick Sirianni have? Was it 2? He has 1. Okay.
He has 1.
That one before was it? It wasn't Andy Reid. Who came right after Andy Reid?
I don't know.
Chat. I need you. I'm just blanking.
Yeah, where we at, Chat?
It's not Chip Kelly.
No,
who
it
was
wasn't him.
Who was the dude down in Jacksonville? Anyways, Chat. Let us know who was the head coach of that first Eagles championship. But again,
was it Peterson?
Someone's
I
gonna.
think it's Peterson something.
Someone's gonna have it in the chat here in 5.
I'm waiting,
4,
but I don't see it.
3, 2,
It's
1.
It was Peterson.
While we wait, Steve-O baby, Broder, I don't think there's one Lions quarterback that has a winning record when it comes to the playoffs. You're
That's
right.
actually true.
I was Stafford.
That's actually true.
Oops, Doug
Sean
Peterson.
Payton.
I knew it. See,
You're right, Doug Peterson. The year after Andy Reid left, maybe. I might be wrong on that. So, are you getting this picture that I painted? That this Lions roster is not far off. They now have one of the best coaches in the NFL, one of the best players. Again, we'll be quick with this one, unless Jeff, you and I want to get into it. Rank the quarterbacks in the NFC North. Who's the 4th best quarterback in the NFC North? You got
well, who are we gonna put? Who are we gonna put as the
Lord
starter
Goff.
for the Vikings? That's what I want to know.
Lord
put
Goff.
Kyler Murray. Put
We'll go-
Kyler
okay.
in purple.
Okay,
Yeah.
We'll
so we
go
got
Kyler at
Kyler,
4.
Jordan Love, Jared Goff, and Caleb Williams.
we'll go Kyler at 4.
Kyler 4. Who's 3rd?
Jordan Love,
And who's 2nd?
Caleb Williams.
Okay, well,
And so I'm glad you did. Like, I wasn't trying to bait you into that. Number 1's Jared Goff. You still think he's the best quarterback in the NFC North?
As of now,
Do you think if Caleb Williams has one more season where he,
he
takes
has
a step up,
He has the talent.
is he that guy who could overtake him?
Yes,
Do
he
you
has.
think Jordan Love will ever be there?
No, because we've already seen what we're gonna get out of Jordan Love.
All the talent in the world.
He has all the talent. He makes a lot of mistakes in crucial moments where he throws an interception. He kind of got that from his from his mentor over there for years, and Aaron Rodgers, seeing him throw picks to Kirby Joseph.
Oh, right,
So
right.
he kind of got used to that, throwing picks at the bad time. But Caleb Williams definitely has like the talent to overtake Goff. It's just whether or not he can put the mental side of it together to do so.
Yeah. I have him as my number 2 quarterback in the NFC North. I got Caleb at no.
come on.
I got Kyler at 4. I got Caleb at 3. Okay. I got Jordan Love at 2, and I got Jared Goff at 1. I do think Caleb's that guy. If he figures it out with Ben Johnson, like I said earlier, the Bears are coming. The Bears are coming. But I still think Tyson Bagent's on the table down there in Chicago. They brought in Case Keenum on a 2-year deal.
I'm surprised they have not moved him yet.
Tyson
Bagent.
Especially
I feel like because that's a player that a lot of teams have a lot of intrigue in, especially in the past years. So it'd be interesting to see what they end up doing.
I have
because
a
they are
hypothesis.
paying Case Keenum a little. They're paying him a little bit of money.
Case Keenum is widely regarded as one of, if not the best, backup quarterback in the NFL. I think it was Josh Allen a couple years ago.
Yeah.
There was an article written about him, and it has nothing to do with him playing on the field, although he is trusted by the coaches when he's out there. It's more about how he prepares the quarterback in front of him at each spot he's landed on. It's the most glowing reviews from everybody, top to bottom, in the organization. I just wanted to double-check real quick. They gave him a 2-year deal down in Chicago. That's interesting. Because Caleb, this is when they got to make a decision on Caleb Williams, right? Caleb is going into year 3. 1,
Yes.
2, 3.
Year 3.
So Ben Johnson is making his decision. Who's his quarterback of the future? Is it Caleb Williams? When you got a $10 million third-string quarterback in Tyson Bagent, I have a weird hypothesis that Ben Johnson may like him better, may still give Caleb Williams everything possible to become the dude that the Bears thought they were getting when they drafted him. Ben Johnson needs a quarterback who is on time. And Bagent's got a little bit of mobility. He needs a quarterback who he can trust, is on time, executes, and is accurate. Caleb Williams has a ton of talent, ton of skill. What does he do in the pocket, though? Sometimes he looks great, sometimes he doesn't.
He makes those magical plays that
they are magical. He when he's escaping, he has the ability to make some of the most magical plays in the NFL. That one, was it in the playoffs or was it week 17? It made this incredible play, 45-yard dime on a dot in the end zone. It was in the playoffs?
Yep.
He could do special things, but the NFL, and I know Ben Johnson believes this too, you need your quarterback to be consistent. So that's what's going to be continuing his trajectory forward.
And this is Caleb. To be fair, this is his first time, his first year under Ben Johnson. So that was his first time working with a coach that actually knows what he's doing,
right,
in terms of developing, a quarterback on the offensive, scheme.
Right.
Because who he had before was just not it.
He was getting negative coaching.
He was probably put in one of the worst, situations a rookie quarterback could be put into.
Zero coaching. Now we got some. That's why an off season with Ben Johnson could turn out to be scary, or if Caleb Williams just shits the bed, he shits the bed. 5-6 more minutes on one topic I wanted to bring up. Then we're going to end the last 20 minutes back with the NFL draft. We're going to let young Hefe over there in the TD booth do his mock draft 5.0, I think it is. 5.0. We got 2 more shows here, first to the whistle, before the NFL draft. It's 9:05 on Sunday morning. I want to thank everybody again for being here. A lot of OGs, Woodward Sports OGs, and a lot of new faces. Almighty Phoenix, I haven't seen you in here, but you dropped the Doug Peterson comment. I'm glad you joined us this morning. We got some really great shows throughout the week here at the network, so please tune in, subscribe, hit the like. I want to ask the crew here in chat, I want to ask you too. Was the Derek Barnes extension, was that the first crack in the Lions culture that will ultimately prevent them from winning a Super Bowl? Was that the first decision that Brad Holmes made that was more emotional? It was more keep the family together. Kelvin Shepherd wanted his younger brother there, his boy. Was that an extension they handed out too soon?
Too soon.
And part 2 to that context is what we're seeing now, having to let go of Anzalone. How Anzalone left. Because he said this week, guys, that Dan Campbell said he wanted him back. Dan Campbell wanted Anzalone back. But it was the finances. It was the front office. It was Brad Holmes and Mike Disner saying, $7 million for you at 31 years old, 32 years old.
Yeah.
With already paying Barnes $8 a year and Jack Campbell about to be paid a bag. We can't do it, Alex. I'm sorry. Was that Derek Barnes extension the first crack in the culture?
I can't say that necessarily is, the piece that, made this kind of questionable in terms of, what they do and financially, because it's not. Unfortunately, I feel like we've seen the writing on the wall with Alex Anzalone when Jack Campbell was drafted. Like, you knew Jack Campbell was going to take over that spot and that Anzalone was going to be gone at some point.
Yeah.
And it just happened to be this year. Now, could they, if they weren't paying Derek Barnes, could they have gave that $8 million to Alex Anzalone? Yeah, they could have. But is it that major of a move to where this is the reason why the Lions struggle? No. That's not the reason why the Lions struggle.
And are you saying that major of a move just from an on-field perspective?
Yeah, on-field perspective is because you draft Jack Campbell with a clear role that he was going to, one, you're going to ease him in. He's going to learn the system. He's going to learn how to, call plays for this defense. He's going to learn from Alex Anzalone. And then when it comes time, he's going to become the best linebacker in the league, and then you are going to shift away from Alex Anzalone. Mm-hmm. That's clear when Jack Campbell was drafted,
right,
that was going to happen at some point. It just happened to be this year. So on field perspective, I don't think that's you're not looking at the Lions and going, Alex Anzalone is gone. That means the defense is absolutely falling apart.
Oh, right.
He wasn't. I mean, let's just be honest. Was he a top 3 defensive player on this team?
No.
You have Aiden Hutchinson. You have Brian Branch. You have Kirby Joseph. You have Jack Campbell. Like all those 4 players are all better than Alex. So it's like that can't be the piece that made this thing crack. What made this thing crack was the Lions being negligent and adding the guy who we cannot say his name on this air.
Are his initials MD?
Yeah, I think so. Twice, by the way. Instead of getting someone that could actually play alongside Hutch.
Yeah.
And you not being prepared for when Frank Ragnow left. That is the crack. Those are the 2 cracks that ended up kind of hurting the Lions in terms of they're falling.
I can get down with that.
So now they need a net to catch them. But those were the 2 cracks that made them fall.
Don't you think because of those cracks, just to play devil's advocate, and I'll read first, AGRVNT in the chat, was definitely not a good move in hindsight, but I don't think it will be the Jenga block that topples us. That's fair. And I don't think there's a drastic difference between them on the field, although they play the position differently. I do think Alex Anzalone is better, even at this point of his career, and I would rather have him on this Lions roster this season than Derek Barnes. But I mean, with all this other stuff happening, like you mentioned, Ragnow and Decker and some of these things falling apart, it sure would be nice to have a captain of your defense there to keep everything tight, keep everything together. He was a culture guy who brought it. And he's a perfect example of this Lions culture, bringing the best out of people, trusting in players that were maybe overlooked at their landing spot before, and then coming in and being a real contributor. I'm not saying Alex Anzalone is the best linebacker in the NFL. I'm just saying there are some dominoes, unhappy veterans, some optics from the outside now that don't look so great as we hear more come out about Anzalone and Taylor Decker and different things about how this front office is operated. I don't know the answer to this. I just thought it was really interesting because that contract, it prevented them from re-signing Anzalone. You can't pay all 3 of those. I'd rather have Anzalone.
But was that the biggest, reason?
No.
Was that the biggest, signing that the Lions kind of ended up, ruining the dynasty, the empire that they had built? It's not.
Yeah. We'll see. If they screw this draft up and they take some linebacker early and he doesn't pan out with Jack Campbell and Malcolm Rodriguez, then you see more dominoes falling and you look back, okay, But
that's
right now,
that's where I said, Broder, the Lions drafted Jack Campbell because he is 6'5", and he was 250 pounds, and he runs a 4.6, and he had been proven in college to be one of the best linebackers in college, and they drafted him with the clear vision that he was going to be the one that controls this defense in the future, and that's exactly what he became. He became exactly what Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell drafted him for.
Yeah.
And it's simple.
I just think they're going to add because their DC is a linebacker. They don't prioritize getting sacks from their defensive line. They want it to be their linebackers and DBs like Brian Branch, like Roger McCreary, DBs to come up and help in the run game. Come up and help put pressure on the quarterback if the interior of their defensive line is pushing these mobile quarterbacks to the edges, pushing them into the flats for the linebackers to clean things up. Caseville Country Boy, why don't you guys ever do fan mock drafts anymore? Seems like after 100,000 subscribers, we stopped seeing fan mocks. I don't know if that number...
We did do one.
Yeah.
I think...
I'll speak for myself.
Well, Kool Aid's not here, so I think everyone was supposed to send their... I think they were supposed to send their mocks to Kool Aid.
Like for the show?
Yeah. If you guys want, you guys can send it to me on any of the social media platforms. Just look me up, Jeffrey Walker _ on Instagram, Twitter. It's Walker Jeffrey _
Hey,
send it to me, and we could do one next week. We'll do one next week.
Yeah, we're not opposed to it. This is an hour and a half show. We don't always have a ton of time, especially with, 3 voices on, with Stick added to the mix and Kool Aid. I remember on Wake Up Woodward, we would do them all the time. So I can't speak for what the different shows. We all operate independently. But Caseville Country Boy, send them in.
Send one in.
I know your first round draft pick is going to be some mobile quarterback that you take at 17. Caseville Country Boy. Gavis Concon 2004. The sad thing is Anzo might be better than Barnes. I think he is. Barnes still has room to grow. I'm waiting for it. He's an athletic freak. Just hasn't all come together yet.
He's played well before.
Yeah. But enough about that. Let's take these last 15 minutes, Jeff, and do Jeff's mock draft 5.0. I've enjoyed seeing how yours have evolved over the last, there's 5 drafts, so it's been like 6-7 weeks. It's going to be a good one. You got 2 left. And I want to see your strategy. Because conversation always comes up from these. You have a strategy, and it takes us in a couple different directions. Talk to me.
So 1 second here. Let's see if we can do it this way.
Chat, while he's getting that set up, let me know if who was your pick at 17? If all things being equal, who was your dream pick at 17? Maybe you think Kadyn Proctor is going top 10. If something weird happens, players are falling, who do you want at 17? Should they trade up? Should they trade back? Chat, let me know what you want to do. Greg Thomas, Lions do any 2-man sets at linebacker?
So, here we go.
Kelvin Shepard's got to be a little more creative this year. Okay, Jeff.
So, first pick, the Lions take, in the NFL draft, 17 is Kadyn Proctor.
Wow.
Offensive tackle out of Alabama. This is a player, obviously, the Lions love. Now, this isn't personally what I would do.
Okay.
But this is what I feel like the Lions would do.
So wait, let's set that up. This mock draft 5.0 is what you think the Lions are going to do, not what you would do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I think this is more along the lines of what the Lions would do.
Okay.
With some tweaks.
Let's see. You're picking at 17 and 29, so you traded.
You got to trade up.
What was the trade? I'm having a hard time seeing.
It is pick 50 and pick 128 and a second round next year.
Wow.
To move up to 29, and you get your edge rusher that the Lions would love. This is a Lions guy. This is a Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes guy here, because he can set the edge, good edge, rush defender, and as well as he does get after the quarterback at a pretty good rate. Obviously, some things to clear up, but he's less of a project than you would do with a Keldrick Falk. He'd be ready to go right away.
He's 6'6", 262, 33-inch arms, 9.5 hands. He's a big dude.
Yeah.
Long, well-built
Gigantic.
edge rusher.
Gigantic.
This is what we say when the Lions would need to address the trenches. I would be fine with this.
Zion Young.
I would be fine with this. Those 2 players in the first, I would be fine with.
Wow. You're trading up into the first round. So you traded a second, a fourth, and a second next year. This guy better be good.
Yeah.
Kadyn Proctor at 17 and Zion Young at 29. And then you don't get a pick till late 4th round.
Yeah, that's correct.
Zion Young better be a difference maker from day one. You think he can be?
I feel like he can be because he will be able to play alongside Hutch right away. He has the physicality and the physical stature to play in the NFL as of right now. Like, he is absolutely built. Mm-hmm. So he wouldn't have a problem adjusting to the size and the speed of the NFL. So he'd be ready to go right away. And obviously, he would be the second best edge defender on this team.
Immediately.
Because that's how, there's nobody after Hutch.
Yeah.
And then I do have them taking a corner, Will Lee out of Texas A&M at 118, because a lot of those guys that I had, Broder,
Kilgore and
my
Bud
last
Clark
drafts, those guys have shot up the boards, and the Lions would have to do even more trades into the second round or beginning of the third to get those guys.
Yeah, Vincent E. 313, Jeff.
Tough.
You go cornerback, defensive tackle, cornerback, and then Aiden Fisher. Vincent E. 313 says, love the Aiden Fisher pick. National championship linebacker for Indiana. Talk
about a guy who would replace Alex Anzalone for a very, cheap contract. Yeah. Very, it's a fifth-round pick. So, I mean.
Malcolm Rodriguez was.
He was a fifth-round pick.
Fifth or sixth?
Fifth. Yep.
Dallin Bentley, you go tight end late.
He's bigger.
Another edge. Oh, your old boy, Max Llewellyn from Iowa.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to throw another edge rusher in there.
What did we say yesterday or 2 weeks ago? He's got the motor.
Yeah, he does. He got the motor.
Also,
for the late rounds, you can't beat it.
I actually like. He was one who stood out to me at the combine.
It's like at the late rounds, you can't you want to pick someone that may have potential to get there, but if not, it's okay.
To me, he's a guy that is kind of a perfect guy to give Aiden Hutchinson a blow. Pause.
By the way, all
right,
that's something that
has to happen.
This defense needs edge rusher to be in depth because you can't have Aiden Hutchinson out there playing 98% of the snaps.
You just can't do it.
If you want him to be the most effective, pass rusher he can be, he does not need to be out there playing 98% of the snaps because when it comes to third down, he's tired. When it comes to fourth down, he's tired. He has lost that ability to actually get after the quarterback. Mm-hmm. Usually when you see someone that has a pass rush knack to him where he's going to get after the quarterback, they're usually sitting him on first or second down. And he's coming back in. He's playing 2 out of those downs out of the 3 or 4 now. A lot of teams go for it on fourth down. So they're playing 2 or 3 of those downs.
That's a good point.
Not all 4 of those downs every single drive.
So when he's on the bench, you don't necessarily need the most skilled player to come in and, guarantee a sack on a quarterback. But you know what's annoying as a left or a right tackle? You see Aiden Hutchinson leave and some little bulldog who just won't stop no matter what, just pissing you off. Now, you don't even need to get to the quarterback. You're just pissing off the tackles so that when Aiden Hutchinson comes back in, they're like, they had to expel more energy from Max
Now they're
Llewellyn.
tired because this guy is going crazy.
There's a chess piece to that too. It's real. It's real. Remember high school basketball. I'm guarding a starter or whatnot, and he's a really good player, decent defender, whatever. He goes out, and they bring in some guy who, he's probably 6 inches shorter than me. He's probably 5'9", 5'10". I would hate – they're scrappy, they pinch and they poke, and they pissed me off where I want the better player back in. It's one of those. You bring Max Llewellyn in after Hutch. I don't hate it. So offense.
Caseville Country Boy did say that his 5th-round pick would be a mobile quarterback. So he put
that's
that in.
Okay.
He did put that in there for you, Broder.
I see it with the smiley face. My guy up in Caseville got good cheeseburgers up there. By the way, I have no problem with quarterbacks late in the draft. If you want to start the process, whether it's the 49ers method, drafting one no matter what every year. The Patriots would do it with Jacoby Brissett and Garoppolo and.
Well, we got to have somebody back there just in case. Right now, we don't have anyone. We're asking Teddy Bridgewater, who has retired 3 times, to be the backup quarterback for this team. This team. Okay, every other team has a capable backup quarterback to maybe go out there and actually snap the ball. The Lions didn't have that.
No,
they had Kyle Allen.
Fortunately. They had the most durable quarterback in the NFL. He hasn't missed a game in 4 years. There are cons to not being mobile. There are pros too. Jared Goff is your starting quarterback. You pencil him in every Sunday.
But now you need the offensive line to be fixed. If not,
you do.
That might be a problem.
150%. Go out and get Carson Beck late in the draft. He was projected to be higher a couple years ago. They like old quarterbacks who have been injured before. I'm not a big Carson Beck fan.
Stinky.
But let's review this real quick. You want offense. Then defense,
and defense.
offense, defense.
Yeah.
You're prioritizing the defense.
You got to. And I feel like the Lions know this because what they've done in free agency, they have went offensive heavy. They've got a lot of depth in the offensive line. They have gotten the backup running back that they need. But now it's time for you to pay attention to that defense because the defense needs, like, you have to have somebody on the roster in the defense. Like, it has to be somebody that you can actually deploy out there.
Yeah.
Because right now, I don't know if you have 11 guys that you can put out there.
No, but you do have like 20 pretty good guys, and a couple great ones in Hutch and Jack, and then they went out and got a lot of secondary players, a lot of safeties, and a lot of cornerbacks, and a lot of versatility. Okay, so I don't know if they're going to go DB early in the draft.
That's why I had him taking one in the fourth.
Yeah. So that DB and
that's where it kind of makes it acceptable now because you do have that depth back there in the corner and safety room that you can trade up and go get two guys that you would really think that you would want in that first round.
Where have they not addressed the depth this offseason? The least edge and linebacker, right?
Yeah,
edge and linebacker.
But even though like linebacker, you don't need as much depth in that position because, well, as I've said, Broder, you don't need to have 3 linebackers on the field anyway.
Do you, though, if your strategy is DJ Wanham at edge? If your strategy is Hutch, goes get the quarterback and everyone else just stop the run, which I don't hate that strategy, but doesn't that mean you actually do need depth at linebacker? You're asking them to do way more?
Yeah. I mean, you do.
I'm just talking through this with you.
You need depth at linebacker, but I just think that the Lions need to shift a little bit of their scheme so that they can have more flexibility in, that safety spot where you have like a bigger safety, a bigger corner who would be able to come in and play in that role as, kind of like your Brian Branch role because he's not going to be ready at the start of the season. And that's someone that you would love to have in that role because you can put Brian Branch out there and almost, deploy him as a linebacker and he would be, perfect in that role. But you don't have him right now. So
Jeff, I got to ask you, would you consider safety in the first round? Or I should say the first or second round? I
wouldn't, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Lions do it.
Yeah.
I just I see like I did for my last mock. When I had them taking Jermon McCoy. Like, it wasn't something that I would do. Mm-hmm. But, like,
me neither,
you talk about best player available, and then,
everyone
Brad
says
Holmes
he's perfect.
Says it, I'm best player available. Like, I'm going to take the best guy there. Like, if a lot of these guys that, if the Kadyn Proctor and the Amon-Ra Freeling are gone, would Brad Holmes do that? Like, that's something I can 100% see Brad Holmes doing. 100%.
If Kadyn Proctor goes in the top 10, let's say the Browns take him, there's a very real chance that Caleb Downs falls. I'm not saying 217, but what number do you trade up to? Like, if Caleb Downs hits 12, and that's the Cowboys.
He wouldn't get past the Cowboys. Like, I don't even think the Cowboys would even trade that pick to, get off him. So you'd have to trade to 11. And get him at there because if he falls to the Cowboys, they're gonna pick him.
But again, if Kadyn Proctor goes to the Browns at 6, someone's falling on defense, and to me, Caleb Downs should be better than anyone else who falls. You could argue he's the best player in the draft.
You can.
But he could fall.
But his positional value isn't. That's where best player available. Even though a lot of NFL teams do that, they draft best player available. At that position, can you do that?
Couldn't you see the Cowboys drafting Mansour Delane out of LSU if he falls?
I can, but if he's there, they're going to take him.
What if David Bailey falls? What if Reuben Bain and his alligator or his T-Rex arms What if he falls?
That's very real possibility. Because
he can't fall past the Cowboys.
That's something that has been, very highly discussed is, his small arms.
And then what if, and this happens every year, there are guys who are ranked on PFF or NFL.com in the 20s or the 30s, and they end up going higher. What if they're more interested in an Akeem Mesidor or a Keldrick Falk or a Cassius Howell who played at A&M? You never know.
I really see them. I know they're really interested in Keldrick Falk. That is another guy they're really interested in.
Wouldn't you be with that offense?
Would they pick him over Proctor? I don't know. How exactly their board set up, but I do know that Keldrick Falk is someone that they have met with, they have talked with, they are linked to highly. So at 17, he's definitely an option.
Are they smart enough? Are you talking Lions or Cowboys?
Lions.
Okay, you're not talking Cowboys with Keldrick Falk. He's kind of a fit for them too. If you want to get the ball in the hands of your offense,
he's going around that range. He's going anywhere from 12 to 20.
He'd be smart for the Cowboys, and like not from a sack perspective, but from a teams are going to try to keep their offense off the field by running the football down their throats. They are horrible at stopping the run, and got better after they got Kenny Clark. And the dude
now they have Quinnen Williams.
They got their interior solidified. Yeah. I like the dude from Boston College last year, Ezerike. You get a run-stuffing edge like Falk with upside. You could use a linebacker too. Rams don't need a safety. Ravens don't need a safety. Bucks don't need a safety. Caleb Downs could be there just after 10, and you got to think about it. One of the edges, I don't know. Nonetheless, there's going to be – I'm rooting for Kadyn Proctor to go top 10. You have him at 17 in this draft. I want him there so that the Lions have their pick of some really good players to either take or trade back on, because if Brad Holmes doesn't believe in Monroe Freeling, I know there are teams behind him who do, and they will be trading up to go get him. Spencer Fano. Some teams love him, some teams don't. I've seen some mocks that have the Rams taking Fano, and I've seen some of them taking Caleb Lomu, who's like projected to be an early second-round pick.
And a lot of guys have had Spencer Fano and over Kadyn Proctor. If you look at it, they're very similar in terms of, are they going to be right tackles or left tackles in the league? Or would they be guards?
Yeah.
Obviously, Kadyn Proctor is the better athlete. He has, he has more weight to him, which you do love in offensive lineman, because, it's kind of give or take. Like, Spencer Fano is a little bit too light for an offensive lineman.
He has
to beef up. And
roll the dice.
Kadyn Proctor needs to lose some of that baby weight and add a little bit more muscle.
Lions got a big roll of dice on the decision of the number 17 pick.
Okay, and we always do that. Like, and we could talk for 3 hours on the show, but it gets to 9:31, and there's a whole conversation right in front of us that we're going to take 3 minutes to do. Because why are we rolling the dice? Like, can this team afford to roll the dice right now? Like, why not go get a sure thing?
So, Broder, this is what I said on Braylon show is the Lions can't afford to be too cute.
Right.
They can't afford to be cute. Like, they can't go draft, the wide receiver or the safety or the corner in round 1 at the 17th spot. They can't afford to be cute. They have to go get the trenches. And that's something that we hit on Braylon's show, and they can't afford to not go with the trenches.
I can't.
That's just the way it is.
I keep trying to convince myself that Vega Ioane from Penn State is not going to be the pick for them, and I can't do it. I can't. That's the sure thing. That's the smart move. That's not being too cute. Can you imagine trying to rush from the left side of the line? You got Ioane, who's the best pass-blocking interior lineman to come out of the draft in 10 years, but hasn't let up a sack in 2 years. was like no pressures this year. The dude's a stud, and
he's the best
ascending in the run game too.
He's the best offensive guard in this draft class,
and probably the highest floor.
And it's by far
probably the highest floor of maybe anyone in the draft. Ceiling is quite. How much better is he going to get? He's already really good. Penei Sewell, Ioane, and Cade Mays on that left side. But the hands,
you got the left side, the Samoans.
Oh my gosh,
yeah, that's nasty.
And then with a player I think is going to take a big jump for the Lions this year, needs to, and I think will, is Tate Ratledge at right guard.
So let me ask you a question, Broder, and then we can kind of end it on this.
Yeah.
Are you okay with Larry Borum at right tackle?
I am. I wish we had a better right tackle. Don't get me wrong, but I am. I'm okay with the weak link of this offensive line being at right tackle, farthest away from Jared Goff, in front of Jared Goff. Jared Goff at his best, and the Lions' offense at their best. 3-step drop, 5-step drop, get rid of it. Find St. Brown. Find Laporta. Tesla this year. We're going to find game. Play action. I'm okay with the weak link being out there where Goff can step up into a clean pocket because you have the best pass blocking center, Cade Mays, the best pass blocking rookie, Ioane, and the best overall player in the NFL at Penei Sewell on the left side and a really freaking good young right guard.
The Samoans.
And Tate Ratledge. I want Jared Goff to be able to step up. I want Jahmyr Gibbs to be able to run between tackles because Jahmyr Gibbs can do that. And you got to be able to do that if you're going to implement the play action, which, again, is a strength of Jared Goff. Another opportunity to get Tesla and J-Mo involved. I think it's – I don't know if he's going to be there at 17 anymore, but I think it's a home run to solidify that. And you know what? Brock Wright's going to be healthy, we hope. Tyler Conklin is a really good veteran tight end.
He is.
You know who you can help out? Your right tackle. You can help him out with tight ends. You can help him out with the running back. You can't really do that at guard. We saw when that broke down, when the interior broke down and Jared Goff had pressure in his face, like any quarterback in the NFL, they're worse when pressure's up the middle in their face. Jared Goff doesn't have the athleticism to be able to get out of the pocket and make stuff happen. He needs that pocket clean. That's where we'll leave it for today. We got one show left before the NFL draft. It's coming up on April 25th.
23rd.
23rd.
11 days away.
11 days away.
Let's go.
We'll be here next Sunday. Woodward Sports has shows all week long, Monday through Friday, kicking off at 8 a.m. with the Sean Beligian in the Morning Show with Maz. You got Big D Energy with Neil, D-Mac, Terry Foster, some Sticks, some Anson, Spenmo Racks in the TD booth. Braylon Edwards show with Shep and our boy Kool Aid. We got the heavyweights who start at 5 with Chris Platty and Nick Koloff, who's our Tigers beat writer. We got everything going on here at Woodward Sports. This is a fun time. We want you guys to be involved, so please leave a comment on your way out. Hit the like button, subscribe, and we'll see you next Sunday at 8 a.m. This was First to the Whistle. Thank you.